Okay, hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. With me, as always, is Christine Flores Law, at A Flores Law. And so today we're going to talk about some core repair questions that we have. So one of the questions we were thinking about is what happens when I go to a car repair facility and they refuse to provide me with any written documentation regarding the repairs or costs they did on the vehicle.
Right.
So yeah, what is my options and what do I do?
You can leave. That's the easiest thing
Well,
to do. But sometimes we have not a lot of time and we just want to, and maybe they don't have the time. But maybe you can prepare something for them based on what they said and said, okay, this is what you told me and I want you to sign it. Right. So maybe it's just handwritten. But you should have some documentation and you should be able to get whatever that is represented to you verbally in writing. And so maybe you go home and type it up and say, okay, I'm going to go home and type it up and give it to you because this is what you told me. And I want to make sure we're on the same page. So if they won't do that, maybe they'll email it to you. Maybe somebody will email it to you, or you can email it to them and say, okay, before we go forward, this is what I'm understanding we are agreeing to. But most reputable places, to be honest, will, write something up. It might not include everything. So that's where you want to look at it and say, okay, but you said this and this says this. And then sometimes they may not have filled out, what the mileage of your vehicle was when you turned it in. And maybe you want to make sure that mileage is on there. And then when it gets back to you, what that mileage is. And this is especially important when you're kind of getting repairs done that are major and warranty repairs that, the dealership that maybe sold you the vehicle is doing those. You want to make sure because they have the ability to document it. But a lot of times what you see on the documentation was a customer says, well, that's one thing, but what do they say? So you would say, hey, I want to know what you're saying to be put on here as well. So
definitely.
So I guess my first thing would be to make sure you ask. And then if that person isn't willing to do it, maybe ask to speak to a manager if you're not speaking to a manager and see what that person says. And if they're just really not willing to do it, maybe you do not want to go to that facility. Just saying, right?
Yeah.
It's a sign of something that's not quite transparent and they're not willing to stand behind their work or what they say, then yeah, it's something you should consider when choosing a repair facility.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the other question I have is what are the common warranty rights for car repairs in Arizona?
I'm sorry, what are the consumer warranty rights for under cars? Well,
yeah,
I mean, you have a used car. Yeah, you have used car and then you have a new car, and they're a little different. The used car one is generally speaking 15 days and 500 miles, but that doesn't mean exactly 15 days and exactly 500 miles, because if the issue arises in that period, then you report it to them and give them an opportunity to repair, that can bring in other warranty rights under the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, which are federal statute that kind of supports state warranty rights. Most of our warranty laws that are available to consumers in any jurisdiction are based on state law. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act is a federal law that supports state law, I guess the best way to put it. It provides obligations of, you have a right to see your warranty before you actually purchase, and you should actually be getting a copy of whatever your warranty is, prior to purchase, and you should be asking for it. And if you don't receive it, then that's a right that you have to enforce under the federal law and probably state law too. So warranty, like any other promise, is a contract. So you have contract laws that also help you, which breach of contract, the ability to enforce a contract, make somebody meet their obligations. And then the other way to enforce warranty rights is under Arizona Consumer Protection Statutes, the Consumer Fraud Act, and other jurisdictions have similar consumer types of protection where a representation is made to you during the sale of an item. and such as a warranty. And if that obligation isn't met and there's been some kind of misrepresentation, you can enforce your right under the Arizona Consumer Fraud Act or some other jurisdiction's Unlawful Deceptive Practices Act that protects consumers. But with all of these statutes, you have to, and I think this is one of your questions, Lizette, about statutes of limitations, which we can get to, and under the different theories of law and in order to enforce your rights.
Awesome. Okay, so then it brings me to my next question. Is there a statute of limitations for filing claims related to car repairs in Arizona?
Yeah, in Arizona and everywhere, right? Because we're talking about everywhere. In Arizona particularly, yes. So the Arizona Consumer Fraud Act is a 1-year statute of limitations. So in terms of legal, legal claims and so forth, that's a relatively short period of time. When it starts or when it's triggered has a lot to do with when you became aware of the representation, in this case about a warranty. And usually that's the time of the sale. When there's a warranty breach or someone doesn't honor their warranty, that could also be a triggering date, which may be a month or 2 months or 3 months or several months after the sale. So even if you think you're beyond a statute of limitations under one theory or legal type of claim, there may be other options. So, for example, breach of contract in Arizona has a 6-year statute of limitations, at least as far as written contracts. Verbal contracts is a little bit shorter. Warranty rights, like a violation of a warranty statute under state law in Arizona, has a 4-year statute of limitations. And like I mentioned before, the Arizona Consumer Fraud Act is just 1 year. And fraud, outright fraud, common law fraud would be 3 years. So the best thing to do is act sooner rather than later. I guess that's the takeaway from that. And sometimes figuring out when your statute of limitations, it might take some time, because it's not always clear when you learned, because basically it's based on when you should have acted as to what the triggering date is for that particular statute of limitations to apply.
Yeah, that does make sense. And that's true. And I agree fully with you, rather sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
So the other question I have is, what type of legal action can I take if a repair facility delivers like subpar work on my car or something like that? It's not what they said they will do, or it's completely just a mess.
Right, exactly. So this can be tricky sometimes, because in order to prove somebody made a mess, you have to have somebody else say that person made a mess, right?
True.
So you have to bring it to another facility, more likely than not, that will identify what should have been done and what wasn't done. Or if they promise to do something specifically, like repair this part or replace this part, and somehow you're able to see that there's still an old part in there that should have been replaced because you got charged for that. So it's best to have somebody independent, not your friend, right? Not your husband, not your sister, not your wife, do the repair or make an evaluation. It's better to have somebody independent look at it, document it, maybe take a picture or two, so that you have proof from somebody that can maybe even be a witness. And maybe it doesn't have to go to court, but at least maybe you are able to speak to someone like a lawyer who will be able to write a demand, what we call a demand letter on your behalf, with the explanation of what they did wrong and what they didn't honor in terms of their workmanship, which again is another promise, right? Another contract, and that's an agreement, right? To do this work, you pay this, they do this. And when that doesn't happen, then you need to seek help to enforce it, or you can do that yourself. But, getting someone to verify what was or wasn't done is key in order to be able to hold that repair facility accountable.
True, true. And I think, getting another professional's opinion would also be very helpful. Like you said, rather than asking somebody, listen,
Yeah,
take a
because
look at this and whatnot.
yeah, because it's not going to be as credible. And when
Yes,
for
exactly.
witnesses and things, it's good to have, people that go with you to the facility, and maybe somebody that's knowledgeable that you can
Mm.
rely on to kind of guide you. But at the same time, it's best to have an independent source. But at the same
Yeah,
time, sometimes you don't know who to trust then, because if you don't know the other one, they might be looking to make money as well. So it's if you can, find a verifiable or get to know or ask someone, okay, I'm trying to go to a reputable place, maybe after you've made a mistake of choosing the wrong place. But it's not always easy, and it's not always
true.
easy to navigate, especially if you're in a smaller town where there are not a lot of repair facilities, or if you're traveling and you kind of have to rely on, what Google review says, right?
True, true. Okay, then lastly, I just wanted to have your own opinion on if there was anything else you would like to share with the listeners or the viewers. Any hints or tips they might want to know, when being in this type of situation, having a car repaired, and, having some questions. Is there anything else you would like
Yeah,
to present?
yeah, no, I think um in general advice, what we give when during our initial consultation is to write down things, right? If you spoke to someone, make sure you get that person's name, even if it's a phone call, of wherever, whomever, the manufacturer, the dealer, the seller, whatever. Write things down so that later when you're asked about it, if you do seek legal help, you have a chronology of exactly what happened, who you spoke with, what they said, and then to act sooner rather than later. Sometimes we tend to like put it off, and all of a sudden 2 weeks goes by and we're waiting for this facility to return our vehicle. So it's better to act sooner so that you can take more helpful action, I guess. At least speak to an attorney or some professional so that you can know how to navigate what might be a challenging, even before you are really certain you may even have a legal claim. Sometimes getting a legal advice can help you resolve a problem while it's in progress, right? So I
Yeah,
think that's the best thing, is like to act sooner than maybe you think you need to.
yeah, definitely.
And write
So,
and write and write, and always document.
right. That's good. And if you can take pictures if you need to, I think that's also
I think that's a great suggestion, Lizette. Great
yeah.
suggestion.
If the more I feel like the more evidence you have to support your claim or whatever you have,
Right.
to support your whatever happens to you, the more pictures or the more evidence, it's better for yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um,
Because we forget, we always forget. And then
definitely,
we write it
definitely.
down when it happens, that can be used later sometimes to help your memory if you have to talk about it a year from that time. Because
Exactly.
yeah, and enforcing legal claims and things, if you do have to go to court, is going to take a while, generally speaking. So it's better
Yeah.
to keep track of things as they occur.
Yeah, what I do, and I know this is probably not related, but I don't know, maybe there's some viewers who also does this. I do journaling. So everything that happens or whatnot, I write it down. It's in my journal. I know if I page through it, oh, this happened on this day. So it's nice to
Yeah,
remember it.
it often can be very helpful for a lot of reasons. And
Exactly.
when we're trying to, ask about questions when things happen, I encourage people to look at phone records. Did you make a phone call? Because then that will trigger, oh yeah, I did call that person on that day, and this is the phone number, and that can be a documented record. So, making calls or text messages, which, are used a lot now to communicate with
Yeah.
car dealers, car repair facilities. Um, and I would use those so that it is documented.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the viewers for
Feels-
tuning in.
Yeah.
We hope this information was helpful to you, and if you think anybody can benefit from it, please like and share and subscribe to our channel. We generally try to put out some helpful information you know, that is for the normal consumer out there. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or just email us or visit our website. You will find some very helpful information on there as well. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Christine.
Thank you, Lizette. You have a good day.